Now, it's probably not news to most of you tuning in right now, but Soen is due to release their seventh album entitled Reliance on January 16th. Now, the singles released thus far are just more examples of their prog flavored, aggressive, and yet socially conscious brand of metal. Friend of the show and guitar player Cody Lee Ford joined me once again for a wide ranging conversation about the album and the pros and cons of self production, a little about how he approaches crafting his solos, and a bunch of other stuff. The full interview is coming right up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with me today we have the guitarist extraordinaire and the soul Canadian of the band Soen, Cody Lee Ford, joining me to talk a little bit about the band's new album and all the other stuff they've got coming up. Cody, welcome to Bleeding Edge. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Thank you, Dave. Always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, it's
It's
good
nice
to see you
to
again. Been a while. You guys have been busy, absolutely tearing it up on the tour circuit since the last time we talked. Working on a new album, Reliance. There you go. That's coming out in less than a week at this point in time as we talk about this, the 16th of January. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Less than a week,
Excellent.
6 days or something.
Yeah, yeah. It's creeping up faster than you might think, or faster than some of us might think. One of the first big releases of the new year. So, how have things been for the band since the last time you and I talked?
Excellent. I guess the last time we talked was before Memorial, or
Yeah, about right.
yeah. Yeah, really good, really good, really good. The Memorial tour was excellent. I mean, two and a half ish years, I guess,
Oh,
of
wow.
doing that, and and yeah, I mean, everything is trending in a good direction. The crowds have been fantastic.
Yeah.
We've got to tour with a lot of great bands, and yeah, I mean, we went right into writing after the tour had kind of ended, and um, well, actually, the writing had happened throughout that entire chapter, but right into recording after that happened,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, it's been good, lots of work, but it's worth it.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to see you guys not once, but twice on that tour, which almost never happens. Two different venues. And
That's
yeah,
right.
you guys bring the energy every time.
I remember seeing your face in the crowd. I was like, I know this guy. Ah, that's Dave.
Yeah, a little bit. I had that same thing. The second show you had Earthside and the guys from 100,000 with you, and Jamie caught me by surprise, and the crowd there came up and gave me a big hug and all that. And I was like, "Hey, man, how you doing?"
Nice.
Totally threw me off for a second there because at first I wasn't sure what was happening, and like, "Oh yeah, I know this guy."
Yeah.
Not used to seeing the performers in the crowd like that.
Yeah. Great
Yeah,
guys. That was a really nice tour.
yeah, indeed, indeed. So I think back to the first time you and I talked, and that was right as Imperial was being released, your second album with the band. So now you're a long-term veteran with the band. You have been there for quite a while, and I imagine that changes things a little bit. We talked about your experience of integrating into an existing band, but now we fast forward to the present day. Um, how would you describe the evolution of your work within Soen?
Yeah, I mean, Soen. Yeah, the thing with Soen is, I think of course when you're more integrated into the band, your opinion holds more weight. You feel a lot more, um, yeah, like you know, a part of the band in many different ways. The way that we write, I wouldn't say hasn't changed so much since I've
Mhm.
joined the band. The only difference is that we're just getting better at uh, doing the whole demos thing. So like Martin really starts things off, and he's gotten a lot better at using Logic and stuff. And so we kind of share the projects that way, and yeah, I mean, in this band there is room for everybody to contribute, and for me, I mean, my main focus is obviously the lead work, kind of the extra guitar details, the yeah, writing the solos, of course, um, and then yeah, like I'll handle most of the guitars on the album, but but yeah, I mean it's kind of, it really feels like now it's not even a band, it's just a family,
Yeah,
right?
that's cool.
So um, so yeah, it's nice. I think we're all on the same page in a lot of different ways, and yeah, I'm kind of free to do my thing, which
Yeah,
is really nice for me.
yeah, yeah. I imagine at this point in time, it's a matter of building trust and confidence to kind of know what each other's going to do and how each other's
Mhm.
going to react, both live and what you're maybe going to do in the studio, and knowing, hey, let Cody just run with this. We don't need to give him direction or something like that. He's going to just churn out what he does. And I always flash back to being in the Philadelphia area here, the age old famous rant by Allen Iverson about being called out for missing practice with the Sixers. We
Mm.
talking practice? Yes, dude, you might be the best, one of the top 5 basketball players on the planet, but the other guy's got to know what you're going to do too, and they've got to get used to playing with you. It's just not a matter of showing up with your talent; it's a matter of building cohesiveness, and I think that probably applies well to bands as well.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Not only in the in kind of the writing realm, but the live realm as well.
Yeah,
Um, which is, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Even when Stefan rejoined the band, um, I mean, of course, we had all played together before, so same thing. It felt very very natural in some ways, but there was an adjustment period with the live show because
yeah,
Lars and I had things that we just naturally did every song that kind of
right.
uh, you know um, sort of happened in like a concrete way where it's just like, okay, I go here, you go here, and Stefan comes in and he's not he's not on the same page, right? And
Right.
so that kind of stuff takes some time, but yeah, feeling super super integrated, super super part of the Soen family now,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. I have to imagine it's interesting because at this time, you guys are, uh, I guess, as far as where everybody lives, or at least where everybody's from, you're pretty far flung geographically.
Mhm.
How has working with a mostly, well, no, entirely otherwise European band impacted you, the Canadian, in terms of exposure and in terms of logistics and all that? How's that been an adjustment for you?
Yeah, I mean, pros and cons. I mean, the pros are obviously uh, getting to experience so much that I never would have been able
Right.
to experience. I spend a lot of my time, a lot of time, especially in the summers during the European festival circuit. I spent a lot of my off time in Sweden,
Yeah.
and so that's been really nice. Sweden almost feels like a second home to me now, and it's a beautiful country to call a second home. I mean, it's one of those countries where you actually, in my opinion, like you kind of, like you see the tax dollars at work. You know what I mean? Like they pay a lot of taxes there, but like everything is just nice and clean. Their transit system is amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, it took me like 5 minutes to learn how to get anywhere in the city, whereas like living in Ottawa, I still have no idea. Like if I don't have a car, I still have no idea how to get around. You know what I mean?
Oh well. Yeah.
Yeah, Sweden, just it's Stockholm. I mean, I should specify it's an amazing amazing city. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's great in many ways. It's obviously tough being in Europe sometimes, just because the time difference with your
Mm.
family, with your girlfriend, all that kind of stuff, right? It can be a little bit taxing in some ways, and you spend a lot of time uh, not at home.
Yeah.
Like between touring, having to stay in Europe. Um, yeah, sometimes I'm like, how many days did I actually sleep in my own bed this year? You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh well.
fuck.
Yeah.
What's the point of having a house at this?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you're not in it most of the time, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
I get you. But yeah, I imagine it's a very interesting blend of cultures between everybody as well. I don't know. Stefan also Swedish, I guess, then as well. I don't recall at
Yeah.
this moment. I didn't even think to look that up. But yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, he is. Yeah,
so because I know Alexei was Ukrainian, if memory serves. So
that's right.
there was a
That's right.
lot of a melting pot in terms of the band going on there.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
It's that's something that's always really interesting, actually, on especially on tours. We would have, when Zlati was in the band, there's Canadians, Ukrainians, Swedes. We would tour
Yeah.
with Finns. Our crew would be like mixed with Italians and French people, and I think on one tour we counted like 20 different nationalities or something.
Wow.
It was just amazing.
Yeah, that
And
sounds very cool.
yeah, it is cool. It is
Yeah.
cool. So you get to learn the swear words of every language. It's amazing.
You know what? That's interesting you bring that up. That's actually kind of like a little hobby of mine, collecting swear words from various languages just so I can drop them at random times. I've only gotten to a half dozen so far, but I know I can definitely start a fight in Spanish.
Ah, good, good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one.
it's handy. So, all right, let's talk about the album a little bit more here. What was the band's thinking as you headed into the studio or as you started writing and composing for this? Was there a direction you wanted to go? Was there just following the muse, or was there something in mind you were hoping to achieve this time around?
Yeah, I think in in some ways we were kind of carrying on this trajectory of being a little bit. Um, I mean, there's a simplicity that we really like nowadays when it comes to, let's say, riffs
Yeah,
and I mean, simplicity is maybe not the right word, but there's a sort of a compactness.
right.
We've really been focusing on just writing really strong songs. If something doesn't fit or we feel like it's just ridiculous to have it in there, or it takes away from anything, we have no problem kind of just, it's easier for us to just be like, yes, get this out of here. It's
Yeah,
not necessary. I think the tough thing when you're kind of labeled as like a prog band is you might feel obligated to put these weird things in a
yeah,
song, and sometimes they do work,
yeah.
sometimes they do, but sometimes you're just like, ah, it doesn't really make sense. So
Right.
there's kind of carrying on this trajectory of very heavy type stuff, like really really heavy guitars,
Yeah,
big drums, that kind of thing. There's a lot more, I would say, shredlier kind of solos in this album, which is cool.
yeah.
Um, but then there was a lot of kind of experimentation on this album as well. That's always very important for us. The need to evolve a little
Right.
bit each album, try some new things. So there's a few songs that are quite different than anything in Soen's catalog on this album,
Right.
and yeah, always just playing around with some new sounds, especially synth keyboard type stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah, we're proud of this one. Really proud of this one. We had I think for me this has been the most memorable kind of experience when it comes to recording an album.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know that. Trying to remember the final track on the album at this point in time. I can't find a track listing in front of me. The
No
final
worries.
track on the album I know was getting a lot of attention in reviews that I've read so far. The final that begins with a V.
Velocore, yeah.
Bellicor. Yeah, yeah. You were saying that as I was. Yeah, it's a word I'm not familiar with, so it's one reason why it doesn't stick in my head. But
Yeah.
that one's been getting a lot of attention. So is that one of those opportunities for experimentation you were talking about?
Oh, it's cool that you say that because I didn't even know that.
Oh,
Yeah, I had no idea. But yes, that is one of the songs that is definitely different in
yeah,
terms of what Sohan has kind of put out before. Um, yeah, I really like it. It's cool. I mean, there's how do I even describe it? It's kind of holy sounding. There's lots of kind
Well,
of almost Gregorian chanty kind of things happening, and there's yeah, it kind of has this epic ending that that we spent a lot of time with in the studio. And I spent some time in the studio at Fascination Street in Sweden, and the majority of the time was actually just me in there. And so I was working with Alex Backlund, and they've got some sleeping quarters and everything. So you'd wake up in the morning, get your coffee, and
oh, wow.
just right into the control room. And the ending of this song is something that we worked on together, and came up with something really cool. Well, it was Martin's kind of blueprint,
Yeah.
and then I just kind of put some guitar on top of it. And then it was really interesting because at the same time Martin was working with Joel, um, at Joel's house on the end of this song, and they came up with a completely different idea.
Hmm.
And then we get into the studio and we're just like mashing the two ideas together to try and like make them work. And yeah, it came out really cool.
Wow.
But it's a very different kind of subdued song. Instead of like a big chorus, it's more of just like a chill, like
Yeah.
really just kind of thing going on. And yeah, I really dig that song. I think it's a nice contrast from some of the rest of the tunes on the album.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the reason it's gotten a lot of highlights, because of the fact that it's like this very rather notable, powerful closer. I know the one review was even said, "Darn it, you should have opened the album with this one," but I think you opened with the correct track.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious. You mentioned Alex, and I noted it was this is the first time since what Tellurian that someone's not been working with David Castillo. How did you guys link up with Alex, and how do you think that change in producer impacted the final product here?
Yeah, I mean, David has been, David was very, very much a part of Lotus, of course. I think did a little bit of work in Lakaya.
Yeah,
Memorial, we worked with Kane Churko, but we did work with David to record I think we recorded the drums at David's studio.
yeah,
So yeah, he's had his hands in a lot of the albums. Yes, as you said. But this time we really wanted to just do something else. We actually tried to do this on Memorial, work with a different producer.
yeah.
The original producer that we had in mind didn't really work out,
Hmm.
and so we actually pivoted almost halfway through that process.
Oh wow.
And I think it was, yeah, Alex had just sent us a mix, and I remember Martin sent me, just like audio file of this mix. He didn't even tell me like what this mix was or who did it or whatever. We had just been listening to the mixes prior of the guy we were originally working with.
Yeah.
And then I listened to this other mix and I was like, that's it, dude. What is this? This has got the juice, this has got the energy, the magic, this is what we're going for.
Yeah.
And he said, this is actually a different guy. This is Alex from Fascination Street. And I said, this is fucking fantastic. Let's go. Let's go with this guy.
Yeah. Well, that's a cool
And,
story.
and so this time around, we just thought, he did such a good job. It would be great to start with him just from the ground up and, see what happens. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about this guy. I mean, he is just super professional. He's got that honesty about him that you need in the studio. He can tell you when something sounds like shit. Just look at you straight in the face and just tell you it sounds like shit and this is not good, which
Yeah.
is really important because sometimes you might work on something for a long time and it doesn't pan out the way you want it to, and there's
Mhm.
too much ego or pride behind it or whatever. You just need somebody to put you in your place and just tell you, dude, that sounds like shit. Um, so that's really important.
Yeah.
And yeah, him and I, we just got along super good. I mean, we're just kind of joking all the time and keeping things light, and it just made the whole process super nice.
Nice.
Um, for me, I mean, for most of us, like a lot of the time, um, especially for the guitars and the keyboards and that kind of stuff, I record a lot of stuff right here in this chair, and that's fine and all, and I can do it on my own time. But it's a completely different experience when you're actually in the studio. So I did a lot of work here, but then
Yeah.
I spent 2 weeks in Sweden, actually just sleeping at the studio, waking up every morning,
Hmm.
redoing a lot of the shit that I had done here to make it just 10% better, um, and then coming up with a bunch of new ideas and writing the rest of the solos and all that kind of stuff in the studio. And Alex was there as a guiding hand, and yeah, he was just super super fantastic to
Yeah.
work with.
I love that idea of studios that are simultaneously residences in some way, where you can sleep over there. I can
Yes.
remember reading these great stories about these classic albums, whether it was Rush recording it. I forget where, but I feel like it was some cottage in Wales or something like that. One of their albums around Permanent
Mhm.
Waves or Moving Pictures, or Marillion recording at Peter Gabriel's place or whatever. Like then like there's always these great stories that go along with that. Um, and I think it's such a cool idea. I feel like I've heard the name Fascination Street somewhere before. I can't remember the context. I also feel like I've heard the name Alexander uh, Backlund somewhere as well too. As soon as I read it, I'm like, wait a minute, I feel like I know him. Who is he? And then when I looked up his resume, I'm going, all right, none of that's ringing a bell. So I'm not sure if he just reminds me of somebody else's name or if there's somewhere else I saw it that didn't come up in my search. But um, I
Yeah,
think there's a whole, like you said, there's a whole different energy when you are there in the studio working directly with the producer as opposed to remote and sending files back and forth.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think that's where a lot of the magic kind of happens, and that's why it was such a memorable thing for me. Um, I mean, my favorite experiences when it comes to recording processes in this band has been, yes, when I'm actually in the studio and working with the producer. I had such a good time with David Castillo doing the reamping for all the Atlantis record. We
Yeah,
just sat in there and I just had an amp, just dialing in what I wanted the tone to be on each song.
yeah,
Um, that kind of stuff, the hands-on in the studio, I think is just so cool because then you're just
right.
like bouncing ideas off of somebody else. And yes, Alex is kind of a protege. I mean, he's an up and coming kind of guy. He's building his resume right now, but he's working under Jens Bogren, and so it's kind of Jens' studio. And Jens has done a lot of amazing work in the metal community. He's all over some of the biggest records, and for me to see a studio like that, I mean, it's got a hallway with bedrooms. So yes, you've got bands that can stay there.
Yeah,
It's got like this lounge room, like a living room kind of situation with a kitchen. It's got like 4 different control rooms. So it was amazing. It was like in one, here we are working on the Soen album. Let's go over to the other one. Let's see what's going on over there. Okay, Jens is working on some behemoth project or something. And then there's like a spiral staircase where there's 2 more control rooms. And another guy that's working there is working on the Between the Buried and Me album. And then you know what I mean? It's just
yeah.
like to see that kind of thing happening, especially in this day and age where I think studios are really struggling to
Sure.
um, to survive because everybody's kind of doing it themselves, or now they've got AI to do shit
Yeah.
or whatever. It just made me feel like, fuck yes, keep going, guys. I hope that kind of I hope they can survive these tough times, especially with
Yeah.
musicians struggling so much
Yeah.
financially to have the money to actually go to these studios.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something to be said, and it's interesting. It's a topic for discussion I plan to have with a group someday. But the pros and cons of self production in this modern world is there's so much that people can do on their own that can sound equally as good almost as what you can hear in the studio, but it ends up sort of eliminating the role of a producer who would do the things exactly what you talked about, push you in a different direction or tell you to your face, this isn't really sounding good. How about we do this?
Hmm.
And that immediate feedback you get when you're in the studio versus emailing stuff back and forth and all that. And, like my standard is always Rush. And as long as the guys in Rush could say, you know what, we're not just going to produce the album by ourselves. We're always going to work with somebody else that can challenge us and give us different perspectives. If it works for them, for me, it works for anybody.
Yeah.
Like great, do your self production if you can do it well. That's beautiful. Like it's hard to say to somebody like Steven Wilson, dude, don't produce your own albums because you suck. No, he doesn't suck. But he's also more engineer minded as well in many ways. I think the way he approaches it, and I
Yes.
always think like that's great. And up and coming artists probably can't afford a producer, so they may have to do it themselves. But somewhere in there, if you can get one, do it because you've got that outside perspective
Yeah.
that can add stuff that the band is not going to come up with on their own. And it might make or break albums in some ways, or at the very least, might give you some sort of approach or some sort of sound that you wouldn't have come up with on your own that could be amazing.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. That's absolutely it. And I mean, I follow so many. Uh, I mean, just for example, I follow so many guitar players
Yeah.
on Instagram that are just amazing at playing the guitar. And then they're coming up with these compositions. And the reason the compositions or like, the final product is not anything interesting to me is not because of their guitar playing, really. It's because, you know, so many of these guys are, programming the drums maybe themselves
Mm.
when it would be better. I mean, they're not drummers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So right off the bat, you're programming the drums from a guitarist's mind. It's like asking me to write the drums for a Soen album. How could I possibly ever get into the mind of Martin Lopez?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The album would sound like fucking shit. It just would. I
Yeah.
mean, so you have something like that, right? Where it's just like, people are kind of cutting corners to try and make music themselves, which I understand in a way,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's gonna hinder you. It's gonna hinder you, and not to mention that these people who are producers, it's not just their opinions that matter, but they are good at like knowing how to glue a song together,
Mm.
knowing how to make this part flow into this part, knowing how to create like an atmosphere in certain parts that might need it. Just having a general sense of what a song needs at every moment, because it's those little details, the stuff that you don't know is even happening.
Yeah.
That is there. It is present. It is bringing the song up. It's like so interesting to me to like listen to the stems
Mm.
of Reliance and just hear what's happening behind the guitars sometimes, just to make them sound beefier.
Yeah.
Um, or just like the random sounds that are happening that you didn't even know existed. That's the kind of shit that takes years and years of experience. And so if you're making an album and it's just meat and potatoes, guitar and MIDI drums and stuff, um, and you're wondering why maybe it's not hitting as hard as you thought it would, well, it's like you cannot beat collaboration with people. You cannot beat two, like, five guys, four guys, two guys, however many people it is coming together and just like having their expertise just collide and creating something fucking awesome,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so that's why it's just super important. It's super important. And if anybody's watching this interview, I really encourage you to keep that spirit of jamming and collaboration and that kind of thing alive. It's so much easier for us to just sit here on our computers now and try to do everything ourselves. That is great. That is a great tool. I know content is important nowadays, and maybe that's great for content. But when it comes to actually writing music, go out there and find that drummer in your town. Like jam, 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 jam.
Yeah.
See what happens there. And to me personally, bands are always going to be more interesting. Just the concept of a band, a bunch of guys coming together, create music, um, is just always going to be more interesting than some guy who's written something on his computer. You know, it just doesn't really have that. There's no magic there to
Right.
me. Still, it still can be really great, and some people pull it off for sure. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but yeah, just I'm just spitting bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, no, I see where you're coming from, man. That there is a certain magic that comes from that human collaboration that occurs when a band is together and they can do all their stuff and bounce off of one another that you're never going to get, almost
Mhm.
never going to get as a solo artist. It's just not the
Yeah,
same thing. They both have their values in different ways, but there is a magic when people are able to interact that way and create something together.
definitely.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you talked about like all this flows into what you talked about earlier, the idea of, like having that prog label and at times maybe feeling some sort of obligation in some way to have something intricate, something very much arranged in a weird way, or play your 15/8 time signature or whatever goes on and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't feel like I ever knew that you guys I don't think I ever felt someone was terribly bound by that. There's a prog force behind it, but there's also been something more accessible, a little bit more straightforward in the dynamics of your music. It varies from song to song. Like I don't know, song like "Martyrs" probably is one of your more progressive things.
Hmm.
But then you look at some of your more recent work, and you can sense there's an impulse to streamline. And I think what exemplifies that in many ways too, as I was listening to it, is the opener for the album Primal. That one comes out the gate angry, and it's a very very in your face in many ways. Not pummeling necessarily, but it's interesting because as I listen to the drum in that, it is. I feel like Martin took a more straight ahead approach on it in some sections there, where I'm like listening. I'm like, wow, I'm actually kind of hearing like on the 2 and the 4 beats and things like that. I'm like, he's seldom done that for any long stretches. I feel like that song represents it more than anything. Is that song something of a statement for you guys? Is that why it's the lead off track and single?
Yeah, I think. Um, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you've heard this a million times. It's about serving the song, right? So if you have a riff like that,
Yeah,
I mean, it's just the heaviest thing to do is just to keep it super simple in the drums.
yeah,
Let the riff do its thing and breathe and yeah, like to me, having just that straight drum beat is it feels fucking massive
yeah,
in that moment. So, um, but yeah, I mean, the composition I wouldn't say is any kind of a statement. We're just
yeah,
uh, doing what we thought the song wanted.
yeah.
But definitely it does come out angry, and I think it does set the tone for the album. Yeah, we knew right away that when the song was finished, like this is going to be the opening track. I mean, we fucking you press play and you just get hit by a train with those guitars. Well, that's what we wanted to happen there. And um and yeah, I think lyrically, thematically, and everything like that, it's a little bit more um straightforward in a sense that it doesn't leave as much up to interpretation, let's say.
Yeah.
I think the message is very clear in that one, but sometimes it's nice to have that kind of that different dynamics in your lyrics as well.
Yeah.
Some things that are a little bit more straightforward, and some things that are a little bit more up to interpretation, and that can be a little bit more personal for the listener.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, this kind of a song, it just you kind of understand when certain things just call for something. They almost demand they demand some anger, they demand some straightforwardness.
Mhm.
um, and yeah, one of my favorite songs on the album for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I just love that. I love that riff. We're really excited to start to play it live.
Yeah, I bet. That's going to be I think, a strong crowd pleaser. It's going to get a good response, which you guys got a lot of songs that get a great response to them, and Martyrs being one of them. When we talk about it, that's absolutely one of my favorites. But it's just interesting in that sense because I think, and it's, I don't know if it's just the fact that this song maybe represented it more so than I've noticed before. So maybe I'm just catching on. Or maybe this is totally made up in my own mind, but there's always that kind of sense about the time I caught on with Soen that I almost imagined like the songs were built from the drums up. And somehow it started with Martin and his very complex style of drumming, or very least rhythmically challenging style of drumming. And then the chords were built around that. And that was um, I know there's a word for this, and I'm not going to come up with it now because I'm trying to. My brain's saying, no, you can't have the word, but the bones of it, the structure, whatever. And this one feels a little bit more like it was built from the riff up or the riff down, however you want to say it, like that the drums accommodated a strong riff. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm wondering, like, geez, have I missed that in other songs of theirs? Is this something a little bit unique or not? I'm not sure, but it probably is me. It's usually me.
No, that's a good observation, I would say, because I mean, typically, I mean, okay, yes, the you could say the songs are built from the drums up because um, a lot of the rhythms are put together by Martin, and
Yeah.
so he kind of has that that he comes from a Latin background, of course, right? And that's kind of been uh, so much of the essence of Soen. I think why people are drawn to the band is you
Mm.
have riffs that have this kind of Latin feel to them, whether you're noticing it or not. It's like you can bang your head to it, but you can also maybe like dance to it at times. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
but but what's important is the groove. Always, the groove is
Yeah.
is always the most important thing. And so when Martin is kind of composing things from the ground up, he is thinking of simultaneously about the groove and the riff. So it's kind of in a way, yes, like built from the groove up, let's say. So if you kind of have
Yeah.
a groove laid out in your mind, it's just kind of plugging in what notes are going to sound good on top of that groove. um, the same thing could be said for Primal. It's built from the riff up, kind of, but the groove is more in the riff than in the drums on this one. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like
Yeah.
having that juxtaposition of kind of the grooviness of the riff, but then the simple drums kind of carrying it forward. Um, yeah, just worked, I think, to make something
Yeah.
super super heavy, super punchy.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no reason you guys need to necessarily feel you need to get into all the precious arrangements often associated with prog. Uh, there's something to be said in a lot of cases where less is more. And I think you and I probably had that conversation before because I know I'm pretty certain I've commented in the past about my sense of that Gilmour influence in your soloing oftentimes, which has led me. Again, I forget whether or not you confirmed that Gilmour was an influence or not, or one even a big one. But I feel I still hear that sense of soulfulness in the way you solo. And you mentioned this time around it gets a bit more shreddy. Um,
Mhm.
which kinds of songs do you think lend their style best to your natural inclinations as a soloist?
In the Soen catalog thus far, or on the album?
Yeah, just in style, like in the slower songs, the mid tempos, the hard edge rockers. Like, what do you first dip into, the shred or the soul?
My personality is kind of split, really 50-50.
Yeah.
Like I have always loved the soul kind of first, let's say. um, you know Gilmore, yes, huge influence, one of my top influences. I mean, he's um, when it comes to solos, just actually having an effect on me emotionally. Gilmour solos were always
Yeah.
up there, to the point where there's like not a lot of other guitar players that even really came close, um,
Mm.
in that regard. I remember just like listening to, Gilmour's solos on Sorrow, for example, and just feeling like that man is screaming from the depths of his fucking soul in the song. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just the emotion is just incredible, and that and that to me kind of laid the groundwork of the idea of what is emotional. And so um, naturally, when I play emotional stuff, it might sound very David Gilmour-y, because that to me
Mm.
is what just sounds emotional. That to me is
Yeah.
his voice resonated with me, because maybe we are the same in some way. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm getting really
Yeah.
philosophical here, um,
No, it's cool.
but
I dig it.
on the other side of the coin, I grew up listening to a lot of Van Halen, a lot of
Mm.
players. I got into. I had this kind of Finnish wave of music that hit me when I was in my teenage years, of like Children of
Mm.
Bodom, Winter Sun,
Ah,
Sonata Arctica, stuff like that. And of course, bands, other Scandinavian bands, Opeth, and bands of this nature. So, but
yeah.
especially Children of Bodom, Alexi. I mean, I used to watch him. Every time I had a chance to go and see a Children of Bodom show, I went. I used to come home from school every day. We had like a handful of DVDs, concert DVDs, that I had three brothers, and so we all loved music, and it would just be like, "Oh, we're watching Children of Bodom today." We also had like a Judas Priest and like Black Label Society, a Sonata Arctica one. But I watched the Children of Bodom one the most. I loved that DVD, watching Alexi go,
Mm.
and so yeah, for me, in my heart, there is that kind of shredder personality as well. It's really a 50-50 thing. So this band for me is a perfect fit, because it allows me to kind of
Mm.
um, flex a little bit of both, like do the ballads, and then especially in the last couple of albums, some of the songs have demanded for more shredly type solos, but it's always, for me, it's always
Mm.
just really important, like I said, serve the song. You're not there to show off or anything in those moments, right? There's still phrasing is still super important. Feel is still super important. The space between the
Yeah.
notes is still super important. Um, so yeah, but that comes with a little bit of maturity, and doing this now
Sure.
for quite a long time. I think in my
Yeah.
early days, maybe the solos would be a little bit too, in my teenage years, a little bit too much, maybe too many notes or whatever, and
Mm.
just kind of knowing when to hold back a little bit. And
Yeah.
it's an ever evolving thing.
Yeah. That balance between making a statement as an individual versus doing what you can to support the song as a whole and as part of a band.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Not it's it's not an easy thing, and at least in my observer's view, in my spectator's view, it seems to always craft a not just impressive but a memorable solo, and I think that's what Gilmour excelled at. But um, like something that later on, when you go back to the song, you can easily replay it note for note in your head. Now, granted, of course, I guess it probably also depends on how often you listen to the song, because you can probably do that with anything. But
Hmm.
some people stood out for me more than others as far as crafting what is ultimately a memorable solo. And I think you've learned those lessons well from what I've heard. Like it's always these little licks and these little pieces and little shift in technique from moment to moment that makes them stand out for me, that I've always enjoyed.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I try my best, so I'm glad that it resonates with you.
Yeah, no, you have been a standout for me in several years now, so keep that up. It's
Right.
probably both our predilection for David Gilmour and that soulfulness part there that I guess grabs me.
Awesome. That's
But,
wicked. That's
yeah,
wicked. I'll keep it up just for you, man.
do it. Call me out every time you do a solo. This is for Dave,
Yeah.
and everybody can go, "What the hell's he talking about?" Um, Curious, which songs off this new set are you most excited to be playing live?
Um, Good question. Primal, definitely excited for that one. Discordia, for sure.
Yeah,
Um, I think we're gonna do. I mean, right now, obviously the singles we have plans to play live, and then yeah, we'll kind of see
yeah,
which other songs make sense. It might be a mix of what our live show maybe needs. Does it need another
yeah,
ballad? Does it need another banger? Or it might be just gauging the popularity
yeah.
of, uh, of of the songs on the record. But yeah, Primal Discordia. I think Indifferent we will probably play live, which is a very different song. Uh, First song with no drums actually. Um,
Oh wow,
but but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I
that's
was
Martin's pee
excited
break
for
there.
it.
That's when he gets to go to the
What's that?
bathroom. I said, is that song Martin's pee break? That
Yeah,
when he gets
yeah,
to go to
yeah,
the
yeah,
bathroom?
yeah, dude. Yeah. He needs it. He needs it.
Yeah,
Um,
I bet.
but yeah. This Huntress would be a great one to play live. I really love that song.
Mm,
I think that's my favorite solo on the album as well. But we'll
yeah,
see, man. We'll see. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I know the fans are looking forward to it. Speaking of fans, speaking of live, I've seen you got dates out for the tour already. I take note, no dates listed as of yet. Last I looked, which was a day or two ago, in the U.S. I'm hoping that means you're just planning them still and have settled them. Not that you're not coming.
Yeah. The U.S. tour is actually it's in the works. It's almost it's kind of, let's say, booked,
Yeah,
or planned.
yeah,
The only issue, of course, is that the U.S. is a bit of a bitch, right, when it comes to getting visas and everything. So our visas expired last year, and so
oh
we've been in
god,
the
yeah,
process of renewing that whole situation. And
yeah,
assuming everything goes well, and we've hired people to kind of help us along with the process. Assuming it all goes well, yeah, we should be seeing you in a few months, actually.
cool.
Um, but yeah, I can't guarantee anything right now. But
Yeah,
yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
yeah. I know prior to this, I took a moment and I thought, I'm going to look up and see what I can find out about because, as we know, in the past year, some stuff has happened and visas have changed a little bit in terms of cost and all of that. And like I took a look and I'm like, depending on which visa you are going for, it can be considerably. That's probably putting it lightly, more expensive, if not prohibitively more expensive than it was just a year ago. And for touring bands, it largely, I guess, depends on exactly what type of visa you pick up. And
Yeah,
that had me scared. I'm like, crap, man. Like, am I suddenly not going to be able to see a lot of these artists that are putting out new albums because they're not, you know, U.S. citizens? I'm like, that's a
yeah.
little
That's.
scary
I
for
mean, yeah. The reality is that will be the case. The reality is that it's kind of always been the case. I think it is just difficult to acquire the visa, to pay for the visas. It's a lot of
me.
money.
Yeah,
I think a lot of I think a lot of people don't think about this sort of thing, um,
right.
when it comes to you know having to support the bands and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, when we tour the US, we're going into the US typically like in the red zone, you know. It's scary. It's scary. I
Yeah.
mean, you're basically hoping that, you know, the generosity and the support of the fans buying your merch is what
Right.
gets you across the finish line, which is absolutely scary business model, right?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, to go and to commit to something for a month, you know, you're not only there for a month, but you're away from your family and everything, and to have no
Yeah.
guarantee really that you're going to come home with $1 is just
Oh my
insane.
God.
But
Yeah.
that's the reality for a lot of bands, even bands at our level. I mean, the costs of, yes, of just getting the visas there are in the tens of thousands of dollars, and then you've got you know, the flights to get over there. The renting a tour bus is, you know, for a month it might be 50, sixty
Right.
thousand dollars. You know what I mean? And that doesn't even touch the you know, paying your crew or the food that you need every day and all that kind of stuff, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
and then, you know, you pay for the merch, you pay for the merch to get shipped, and then you're basically
Hmm.
because you make no money on streams and stuff like that, you hope to you know, the money that you make at the door is basically you're using that to try to break even in the tour, and then
Yeah.
yeah, you're basically hoping that people buy your shirts in order to come home with some money. Um, so
Right.
it's tough, man. It is tough. It is tough. I don't ever want
Yeah.
to sound like I'm complaining about it or anything, because we are very blessed to have this life. There's so many musicians that wish they were in our shoes. But I think this is, you know,
Yeah.
I just say this to be as a way to be informative to people, um,
Right.
just to let them know, like, if you're wondering why shirts are $50 now, it's because it's the only way that bands make
Yeah.
money these days. You know, we have
Yeah.
been, there's no, I've heard this quote a million times now, but bands have become touring t-shirt salesmen, basically.
Oh wow.
So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, it's tough, but you know, there's lots of other ways that you can kind of take your power back, and we've done that with launching a Patreon page, for example, which allows us to kind of, you know, just create some extra content and get more involved with the fans on a personal level and that kind of thing. And we've been really enjoying that, actually.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's, you know,
Yeah.
little
You guys
ways
are the
that,
first ones I know that have done that. I think. Are you? Am I right? Are you guys are you guys the originators of this concept
no, no, no,
for
no. This has
bands?
been, yeah, no, this has been around for a long time.
Okay.
Lots of bands have mixed results with it. We thought we would just give it a
Okay.
shot, see how it goes. And
Yeah.
so far the support has been great.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, once again, if anybody is listening, it's little things like this, like platforms like Patreon,
Yeah.
that are that direct connection with a band. You know, if you really care about a band, you want them to succeed, you want them to keep going. Uh, Supporting them in this way is an awesome way to do
Yeah.
that. And yeah, just one of the ways that bands can kind of take their own power back and try to you know, make some money on the side, having to do some other things that maybe you didn't expect that you would have to do being in a band. Like you think you would just
Yeah.
need to do the music and the touring and that's enough. But yeah, the landscape has changed, right? And you got to
Yeah.
roll with the punches. It is what it is. But we're very lucky. We have such an amazing fan base, and they show up, they buy the shirts, you know, and this Patreon thing has been doing great as well. So if there are any Patreon members watching right now, thank you so much for your
Yeah.
support. We really, really, really we cannot explain to you how much we appreciate that kind of stuff. So thank
Yeah.
you.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And fingers crossed, we see you here in the US. Otherwise, I'm just going to relocate somewhere to Europe so I can see the bands I love to see more often.
Yeah.
See what happens with that. Other
Hmm.
reasons maybe for that too. I don't know. Gets a little
Yeah.
scary at times. But
Yeah.
anyway, not to go down that one. But Cody, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. It's always great talking with you, man. It's you are now back in tie for number one most frequent guest on Bleeding Edge. Charlie
Oh,
Griffiths took it from you for a little while there.
I'm honored. I'm honored, Dave. No, I
Your
sincerely, I
trophy's in
love.
the mail.
Great. No, but
Yeah.
sincerely, I love hanging out, and I will always make time for you, man.
Excellent, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Cheers, Dave. Until next one.
All right. Take care. Always a great conversation with Cody. Big thanks and best wishes once again to Cody Lee Ford of Soen. Brother, I'm hoping for continued success for you and the whole band on the new album and the tour. Good luck to you all. Once again, the new album is Reliance. For those of you interested, it's out January 16th. You can pre-order at the link in the description below. And the European leg of the tour starts at the end of January, so get your tickets now. Some dates are already sold out, so don't sleep on this one, folks, if you're fans. Soen fans, meanwhile, show your love to Cody and the guys in the comments. Hope you enjoyed the interview. If so, show your appreciation with a like, and hopefully you'll subscribe and you can join me along on my proggy adventures for the rest of the year. So until next time, this is me telling you, never fear to deviate from the norm, and as always, keep it proggy.